Let's be real. Have you ever been completely stumped by English verbs that just seem to break all the rules? Well, today we're going to tackle one of the trickiest parts of the language, especially if you're gearing up for an exam like the TOEFL. We're talking about phrasal verbs. So let me ask you this. What do phrases like give up and show up actually have in common? I mean, on the surface, they look pretty simple, right? But here's the secret. Their meaning isn't at all what it seems. Just think about it for a sec. Give means you offer something, and up means, well, toward the sky. But put them together, and give up means to quit. How in the world does that happen?
Well, that's because they are both what we call phrasal verbs. And here's the most important thing to get. A phrasal verb is like a team-up. It's a regular verb plus a little word, an adverb or a preposition, that comes along and completely changes the original meaning. It's not just a verb anymore. It's a whole new concept.
Okay, so why are these so notoriously difficult? It's because you can't just guess the meaning by looking at the individual words. It doesn't work that way. Each one is like its own little puzzle you have to solve, and that's exactly why just trying to memorize them often falls flat. I mean, take a simple verb like look. Super straightforward, right? It means to use your eyes. But add the word for, and suddenly it means to search. Add after, and now it means to care for someone. And look into means to investigate. See? The same base verb, but three totally different meanings. It's a classic English curveball, and it really shows you the challenge we're up against.
So if memorizing a giant random list is a bad idea, what actually works? Well, the key is to totally change your strategy. Instead of learning them alphabetically, which is kind of useless, we're going to group them by context, by the real-life situations where you would actually use them. Believe me, it's a much smarter and more natural way to learn.
So here's the big mindset shift. Stop trying to cram a dictionary into your brain. It's just not going to work. Instead, start thinking about real life, talking about ideas, making plans with friends, taking action. When you group these verbs by theme, you're giving your brain a little hook to hang the meaning on. It makes them so much easier to remember. All right, let's dive into our first group. These are the verbs you're going to use all the time in meetings, when you're writing essays, or just when you're brainstorming with someone. This is all about how we manage thoughts and information. Let's see how these actually work. So, picture this. You're in a discussion and you want to introduce a new topic. You bring it up. Your team needs a fresh angle, so you have to come up with a brilliant idea. When a problem is tough, you need a second to figure it out. And of course, before you start anything, you always go over the plan one last time. See? They all fit together perfectly for thinking and planning. Okay, let's switch gears. We're moving from the boardroom to the coffee shop. Our next group is all about the verbs that bring our relationships and social interactions to life. This is really the language of everyday life, isn't it? Think about your friends. If you have a great relationship, you get along with them. On the weekend, what do? You hang out together. If you're at the mall and you see an old classmate you weren't expecting to see, you run into them. And if you and a friend have a little argument, hopefully you make up soon after. All of these just fit right into our social world. And for our final group, let's talk about verbs that are all about doing things. You know, starting, stopping, and creating. These are those dynamic, powerful words that really show change and progress. This group is all about making moves. When you decide to quit a bad habit, you give it up. On the flip side, when you start something new, like a hobby, you take it up. If you're an entrepreneur, you set up a business. And if something unexpected happens, like some crazy weather, you might have to call off the meeting. Every single one describes a clear, decisive action.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? The most important point is that you now have a strategy. You have a system. You really don't have to be intimidated by phrasal verbs ever again, because now you have a way to master them.
And your plan is super simple. It's just 3 steps. First, when you come across a new phrasal verb, just identify it. Step 2, ask yourself, what kind of situation would I use this in? And then group it by that theme. And finally, and this is absolutely the most important part, you've got to practice it. Write your own sentence, use it, make it yours.
So, the power is really in your hands now. And my question for you is this. Which phrasal verb, maybe it's one we covered today, or a new one you just thought of, are you going to take up and master first? Happy learning!